My name is Jessica Lugo, and I work at the Camden Children's Garden. Today, we're going to be reading a book on the Delaware River watershed called The Watershed Fairy. Now, this is a story written and illustrated by Annalise Shanks, and she actually worked here a few years back. So, start reading it. Once upon a time, before our neighborhoods were built and before the bridges crossed the water, the Delaware River was a very wild and beautiful place. The animals could live anywhere they wanted because the habitats belonged to them, and there were no people to shoo them away. All sorts of wacky plants grew rampant, and the flowers were as big as your head. In fact, the Delaware watershed was so peaceful and pretty that a fairy moved in. She liked to watch the sun set over the river, and she liked the song the cicadas sang. Out of all the watersheds in the world, the fairy chose ours. Why would she do that? Well, a watershed is an area of land which takes all the water that falls to the ground and carries it through small creeks and rivers. There are even underground rivers that could be right beneath your feet. These bodies of water travel through rock or clay called aquifers. The water goes on a long journey all the way to the ocean. Plants and soil help clean the water along its journey. In fact, every natural thing, living or non-living, contributes to the overall condition of the whole environment. Even the things we wouldn't think of, like rocks or algae, have very important jobs and deserve to be appreciated. Maybe the fairy chose our watershed because it did its job so well. All the plants and animals work together to keep the environment in pristine shape for each other. Because the fairy was very kind and wise, the animals came to her when they needed love or guidance. The trees and flowers whispered things to her as she walked by, and the fairy came to know the Delaware watershed so well that everyone started calling her Mother Watershed. She preserved the peace among the wildlife and kept everything in order. She made sure the water stayed clean enough for her friends to drink, live, and play. Even though Mother Watershed loved all the plants and animals in her kingdom, she couldn't help but have some favorite friends. Shad the fish was one of these friends. So were Evelyn Eagle, Felix the fox, and Willow Tree. Luckily, these friends came from all different parts of the watershed and could be Mother Watershed's eyes and ears. Shad could always report on the condition of the river water. Evelyn could soar in the sky all day and let everyone know what weather to expect. Felix would trot through the forest to make sure all was well with the soil. Last but not least, Willa filtered the river water through her roots, which cleaned it. She also let squirrels and birds live safely in her branches. The willow tree always had great advice for Mother Watershed, since she was old, experienced, and very wise. Since the fairy was magical, she was able to live for a very long time. For years and years, everything was perfect and peaceful in her beautiful kingdom, even after human beings moved in and built their homes. Mother Watershed was able to keep the water clean and safe. But as the humans made new inventions, keeping the river clean became more difficult. First, it was the waste from factories spilling out into the water. Then, the humans built parks along the water to enjoy the view, but they sometimes forgot to put their trash in the garbage bin. Or even worse, they left their trash on purpose, which made things easier for them, but were very harmful to the animals. The trash made Mother Watershed's job difficult and upsetting. There came to be so much trash that she couldn't gather it all up. The litter fell into the tributaries, which are all the small creeks and streams that flow into big rivers or lakes. The water became very polluted, a word which means extremely dirty and gross. Mother Watershed's friends, who by now were getting old, reported back to the fairy with sadness. Shad told her that the fish and turtles had to live with trash floating around them all day and night. Evelyn and Felix told her that there was so much trash, the land animals had to make their nests out of plastic bags and dental floss. Sometimes the animals accidentally ate trash while trying to get their own meals. Mother Watershed was heartbroken. After years of protecting the beautiful land, the humans thought so much of their own convenience they didn't realize it was hurting the wildlife. Eventually, the humans thought the Delaware River was yucky, but that was because they put their own trash in it. Mother Watershed, to this day, tries very hard to clean up all the gunk. Even though there's so much, she wears it on her dress so it won't go back into the environment. She sent me, another fairy, helping to do the good work, here to Camden Children's Garden, asking me to spread the message to young boys and girls who care about our land and waterways. She asks if you will help her keep it beautiful and clean. Remember, there are so many creatures living around us that want a clean and peaceful home as much as we do. If we want to live in a beautiful place that makes us feel happy and peaceful, it is up to us to clean up and make Mother Watershed happy again and very proud of her.